Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Cutting Edge Figure Skating Podcast. My name is Kim Dunaway, and in this episode, I'll be covering the women's event at the 2024 NHK Trophy. Before I get into the results, I wanted to have a quick conversation about all of the calls that we have been getting this season in women's skating especially. We certainly will see calls in men's skating as well, but it has been something that has really affected the placements in a lot of the Grand Prix events so far this season. And at times I'll explain the difference between a Q call, a downgrade, and all of those different things. But I thought I would take a little bit of time at the beginning of this episode because we saw it a lot here. And I think that it's fair to say that there must have been some kind of powwow over the summer with members of the technical committee to really crack down on this because it's not new. Like, we've been seeing under rotation calls for a while. We've been seeing Q calls for a while since they've introduced that particular call. We saw it a lot of times with a lot of the skaters who were attempting to do triple axels, for instance, getting the Q and not getting that full 3.5 revolutions. Just to break down the different calls when we're talking about rotation of jumps, there's the Q, the undercall, and a full downgrade. And you'll see a Q on the scoring sheet. You'll see what looks like a less than sign for an undercall, and two less than signs will designate a downgrade. So let's start with a quarter call first, because a quarter call does not affect the base value of the jump, but it will affect the GOE. When we talk about base value, each jump is assigned a certain amount of base value. For instance, a triple axel is 8 points base value, unless it's done in the second half of a program where it gets a bonus of 10%, you'll see it worth 8.8. So if a skater lands a triple axel fully rotated, they'll get 8 points for that element plus GOE. If it is deemed they were a quarter short, meaning that it was 2 3/4 revolutions to 2.99 revolutions, then they'll get a Q call on that jump. They'll still get 8 points, but most of the time they're going to get negative GOE because they're required to take off a certain amount from what they would have given the jump. So let's say they were going to give it a +2, they have to take away -3 a lot of times with the Q, so that becomes a -1. If they were going to give that jump a 0 on GOE, then it might get -3 instead on that particular element. In that example, I'm using a triple axel. Obviously, that would be the case with any triple jump. 2 3/4 revolutions up to just under 3 full revolutions will get a Q call. The next one would be an undercall. And so an undercall basically is in between 2.5 revolutions and 2 3/4 revolutions. So if we're talking math, we're talking 2.5 revolutions to 2.74. That will cause a reduction in the base value of the jump of 30%. So if we use the same triple axel example, instead of getting 8 points for the base value, they'll get 6.4 points plus negative GOE that's required for an undercall. And then finally, you have a downgrade, and that is if they're more than a half revolution short. Using that same triple axel, if someone were to do less than 3 revolutions for a triple axel, it would get downgraded to a double axel. If somebody did 2 1/4 rotations on their triple loop, it would get downgraded to a double loop. So we're seeing an awful lot of these calls this season. And at times it can vary based upon what is the technical committee. And oftentimes people will say the tech caller because there is like a technical controller and then 2 additional technical specialists. I pulled this out of the U.S. Figure Skating Handbook. A technical panel of 5 people includes a technical controller, 2 technical specialists, a data operator, and a video replay operator. During each performance, Technical Specialist 1 identifies each element and the level of difficulty as defined by the International Skating Union. The tech controller and technical specialist 2 support the primary technical specialist to ensure all elements are correctly identified. Final decisions on elements and levels are determined by the majority opinion of the controller and 2 specialists. Both specialist and controller are recorded with an audio tape during each program, and video will be available to verify calls. The elements can be reviewed after a skater's performance, and scores can be changed accordingly. The scores are final once they are posted and announced to the public. It's 3 people, basically, that's making that decision. If there is dissension amongst them, then majority rules. I certainly haven't been keeping up with the technical committee at each and every event, but I did write down the ones that were the technical controller and specialist for this event so that I can go back if we have this same panel to look and see if they make stringent tech calls in the future like they did here. I personally do not have a problem with strict tech calling. My issue comes, especially when we had a lot of Russian competitors, when it was not consistent across the board. When you had this person get called and this person get called, but not this other person get called. But when we have consistency, where everybody's kind of getting calls, then I have less of an issue with it because everybody seems to be suffering the same fate, right? Okay, moving on. Let's get into the results here. Winner here was Kaori Sakamoto of Japan, of course. In fact, the whole podium was Japanese women. So I mentioned last episode, they had taken 7 out of 9 Grand Prix medals, and now we are up to 10 of 12 Grand Prix medals that Japanese women have won. Kaori here had her best competition of the season, and frankly, it's one of the better competitions that we have seen from her in the last couple of seasons. The short program, I thought she was much more comfortable with this program. She did not have any calls. She got 78.93. The best of her career was at the 2022 Worlds. And basically the difference between her score here and what was, I believe, an 80 there was like a 1 point of GOE. So a little bit higher GOE on different elements and getting like 9.75s in her component score. So really can't ask for a higher score than Kaori here. The only other person we've seen get anywhere near that stratosphere was Amber, who got a 78 at her short program on the backbone of her triple axel. And the free skate, I haven't really loved this free skate this season until now. I thought that it really worked here. The only place she put a foot wrong was that she overshot her ending pose. Everything else was really fantastic. She actually got a personal best for her in PCS. Got 152.95. I don't think anybody can beat her at her best. We saw Amber get a 78, like I just mentioned, in her short program last week in France. But we have a huge question mark about what Amber's ceiling is in her free skate because we've never seen her go out and skate the best. So I was like, okay, if I take her Finland free skate from last season, which was clean except for the triple axel, and I add a triple axel to that, then I think that she can get there on the tech score. But the second mark, I don't think she can get there. I mean, she's about 10 points behind Kaori in terms of that. Just fun stuff to throw around and sort of think about in terms of anybody else that can sort of reach Kaori when she is skating like this. Very, very difficult, except for a couple of ladies like Amber, maybe Ahana Yoshida or Rinka Watanabe, if they could pull out triple axels in both programs, which would be very difficult for all of those ladies to do, right? But really fantastic competition for Kaori. In second place here was Mona Chiba, and her short program is To Last Dance by Donna Summer, which is very different from what we saw from her last season with her Dark Eyes program. I love her triples with her arms overhead. Most of the time, like when Livia Kaiser does it or Anastasia Gabanova does it, it just feels like it's so unnecessary. But somehow when Mona Chiba does it, it just adds like an extra emphasis. I don't know if her arms are just more graceful. I don't know what it is. I I just really like her rip-on variation of her jumps more than maybe any other lady that's skating right now. I feel like she does have more expression in her face this year, and she looks like she's having fun. So this, I think, is a really great short program for her, and I think it's going to stretch her performance abilities a lot as well. And the free skate, she's doing more of a classical style that just really suits her well. Nice in between choreography. She got less calls than most did. She got 2 cue calls and under and an unclear edge. 4 calls was less than most. But she got 140 points in her free skate, and she lost about 5 points to calls. So that shows, again, how high it is that she can really score when she goes out there and is able to fully rotate all of those jumps. Getting 140 here with some calls is really, really fantastic. Mona really came on strong last season. By the time Four Continents rolled around, really didn't have a great Grand Prix. So it's good to see her come out in her first Grand Prix and get on the podium. In third place here was Yuna Aoki, again, also of Japan. She had a rough short program at Skate America, had a strong free skate there, but just could not pull herself up to the podium. So here she came out and did a very strong short program, triple lutz, triple loop that she missed at Skate America. I just thought she looked very confident in her jumps. She just, in general, has a very high quality to her skating. Love her arm movement. She's extremely expressive, really nice spins, especially like her layback spin. I think it's just gorgeous. She almost got a 70, 69.78, and she was so happy in the kiss and cry, I think, to have both a clean skate and to get so close to 70 points. In the long program, she was slightly under her personal best, which is what she got at Skate America last month. But she had some very costly calls, especially on the last 3 jumping passes. Her tech score actually went down 12 points. She ended up 17 points behind Mona Chiba. It would not have made a difference in terms of moving her up in the standings. Her short program lead did keep her above the Americans because she was actually 5th in the free skate. She had 4 undercalls, 2 cues, and 1 downgrade. And she was definitely worried when her scores came up and she just saw 125. But once she saw that she was on the podium, she was in tears. So that was just a really sweet moment for her. In fourth place here was Alyssa Liu of the US. In her short program, she had another clean skate. She actually got a standing ovation from the Japanese crowd. I thought this program looked better than it did in Canada, and she got better PCS. Technically, it was not as strong as it was in Canada because she ended up with a cue call on her triple flip and an undercall on her triple toe. Whereas in Canada, she didn't get a call on the flip and she just got a cue on the toe. Now, was it any different here than it was at Canada, or was that just stricter tech calling? Who can say, right? But still put herself in a really good position to contend for the podium in the free skate. I felt like I enjoyed this program a lot more than in her 2 previous competitions. Felt like she's always looked like she's enjoyed the program. But again, I think sometimes when you see programs later in the season, the skater's more comfortable with it. It just has a much better quality to it. And so it just felt like this was her best performance by far that I've seen of this. She also got some calls, 2 undercalls, 2 level 2 spins. Thought that she was a little slow and had some travel at the start of her camel spin. She lost about 7 points on her tech score. It looks like she can go over 130 if she can get these jumps rotated, which is probably going to be a call that US figure skating is going to have to make, because I feel like right now that 3rd spot looks to be between Alyssa and Brady Tunnell, who was the 5th place finisher here, also 5th at Skate America. when she skated in the short program, it was actually the anniversary of her first surgery on her broken ankle that she suffered last year. So she's just come completely for full circle now, a year later in her short program. She did a triple Lutz, triple toe. The triple toe part was really pretty low, didn't get a lot of height on that. She ended up getting a full downgrade on it, plus a Q on the triple Lutz. So it's a pretty costly combo. The problems that her and Nina are both having with their rotation, like, sort of makes me think that it's a technique issue because they're both being coached by the same coaching team with Benoit Richard. Now, Brady's had a lot of different coaches over the years, lots of different coaches over the years. So I don't know that she's changed her jumping technique a lot, but it's hard to me to believe that it's just an issue of tightening up the day of the competition. Like, it feels like there's something a little bit deeper there that's causing them to have so many issues with their rotation. Her spins were an issue yet again here, like it was at Skate America. And she's such a lovely spinner. Like, when I was watching her in practice at Skate America, her spins really stood out. I don't know what's happened in the competition themselves. Just got a level 2 on her sit spin and also a level 3 on her step sequence. Of course, the Japanese crowd really loved the Lord of the Dance. They were clapping all along to the step sequence. And so I'm sure that Brady really enjoyed that as well. In the free skate, it was going so well. She gets to what's supposed to be a double axel triple toe combo, and she fell on her double axel. And I'm like, Brady, no! Of all the jumps to fall on, like, no. That, if she would have landed that combo, would have put her on the podium. I feel like she's just incredibly close to top form. Like, she was literally just a mistake here and a mistake at Skate America away from being on the podium in both of her Grand Prix. Of course, the margin was much slimmer at Skate America than it was here, but you could still pick one mistake and say that could have been the difference. So she just misses out on the podium, finishes at both of her Grand Prix. She was actually third in the free skate here. If I'm ranking the American ladies right now, we've got Amber and Isabeau firmly in the top 2. I've got Alyssa and Brady kind of fighting it out for spot number 3 right now, with Sarah Everhart on the outside looking in. She's got an excellent opportunity this coming week to perhaps get on the podium and bolster her case for that 3rd spot. Right now, I would say that Ava, Elise would need to win, or at worst finish 2nd at nationals to get that spot. And I'll get to Lindsay later. I think she's out of it right now. In 6th place was Laura Naki Gutmann of Italy. I thought this was one of the better competitions that I've ever seen Laura skate. In the short program, she's doing this Squid Game short program, which when I saw it at the Challenger, I was like, it's got potential. I don't know how I feel about it yet, but it's got potential, and I appreciate how different it is from what we're seeing. Liked it a lot more here. Her triple toe was clean. She ended up with an under on her double axel, which I feel like is kind of rare, but we saw that a few times this weekend. She got an under and an unclear edge on her triple Lutz. So even with those things, she was close to her personal best. I think any short program score over 60 is good for Laura. She often struggles with either her combo or the Lutz, and having her land both of those I thought was huge for her. In the free skate, she's skating to Wayward Sisters. She does a triple Lutz, Euler, triple Salchow right at the beginning. She does a triple toe, double axel sequence. It's like right on the music. That's really nice. Minor mistakes that she has. Doubles a flip later in the program, doubles her Lutz, and steps out of a double axel. In fact, she had a bit of a delay in the air before she rotated, which was kind of weird. In all, those mistakes cost her like 13, 14 points. Had she skated cleanly, that would have put her right there in the podium hunt. None of her triples actually got called. Overall, I think it was a very good competition. She had a big free at Dennis 10 to get on the podium, and I think that she's making a case for being the Italian girl at Worlds for this next coming season. Last year, she really had a rough season, got passed, didn't get that world spot. Instead, it went to Serena Yos, who had a really good Europeans. There's likely to only be one Italian girl at their home Olympics. I don't see any of the Italian girls finishing in the top 10 at Worlds to get a second spot for them. And so it's going to be a real fight, I can imagine, between Laura, Serena, Anna Panzetta. Those are probably going to be the main ones that are going to be competing for that spot. I definitely have a soft spot for Laura Naki because I always really enjoy her programs. So I was really happy to see her skate well here. In seventh place was Soo-young Lee of Korea. Better competition here than what we saw from her in Canada, where she was 11th. In this short program, think she needs more expression in her face. She did clean triple lutz, triple toe, double axel, triple loop, got a V on her combo spins. It looked like maybe she just got 2 revolutions on her camel. Thought she looked really tired at the end. Like even in the ending pose, there was just no oomph. It was just kind of like, this is all I got left. So not really sure what the issue was there. If it was a jet lag issue, didn't get enough sleep, she's under the weather, just didn't really seem to have much energy. In the free skate, just really have some nice moments in this program. I like the spiral that she does, but at other times it just seems like she's just skating around. So I just feel like the program in general needs to be more balanced. She seems like a more delicate skater, so she doesn't really have the oomph to really pull off the dramatic footwork that she has at the end of the program. The footwork is well done, but I feel like if you put it to piano music, it would look exactly the same. And it just needs to be up another level for that particular part of the program. She really, really struggled with rotation. So 6 of her jumps got calls, 5 were unders, which of course is more costly. Her tech score went down 9 points. But like I said, it was a better competition for her overall. In 8th place here was Olga Mikutina of Austria. In her short program, I thought she just had really nice, fast, tight rotation on that triple lutz, triple toe. I mean, I thought her jumps looked good, but she ended up with an under on the lutz and the Q on the toe. She also got an under on her flip. All very costly calls for her. In her free skate, she started off with a double lutz, triple toe to start, which I'm like, oh boy, what is this going to look like? But it did kind of pick up from there. I thought in the second half, she really gets into the program more. She's got a lot of energy and a lot of smiles in her step sequence. But all of those jumping passes in the second half of her program got calls. In 9th place here was Lindsay Thorngren of the US. She had a different short program dress than what she had at Budapest. I believe it was pink at Budapest and different than what she was wearing last season. I might have pulled out my last year's short program dress just as good luck. I tend to be kind of superstitious that way because, reminder, Lindsay won the short program at this event last year and ended up with the silver medal this event, but she was very far from that form here. Her Billman spin is really good. She's got great spin. She's got nice flexibility. But the jumps. She fell on a triple flip. She got undercalls on all 3 of her triples, including the combo that she landed. Only a level 2 in her step sequence. That also cost her a couple of points. I feel like there's just really no excuse for that from her. It's like she's got really good artistic skills. In the free skate, she landed everything, but only her triple loop didn't get a call. She was another one kind of like Yuna Aoki, whose tech score went down almost 12 points here. So I'm just wondering, like, what's the best strategy for her? I remember Satoko Miyahara going to Lee Burkell at some point later in her career, trying to sort of relearn technique on her jumps to get full rotations. It really didn't work out for Satoko, but she wasn't in it for the long haul at that point in her career, or maybe that was like the final nail in the coffin that's being like, okay, I'm just going to retire. Like, this is too much for me to do at this point. I don't know. I really love Lindsay skating, and I would love for them to figure out a strategy where she can do well. It felt like it took a couple of seasons for her to skate well. I felt like there was when she had a growth spurt, She was having a lot of problems just landing the jumps, doubling the jumps or falling. And now that she's landing the jumps, she's getting all of these rotation calls. It feels like it's always something that she's having to deal with. And perhaps this is adversity that she can also overcome, but feel like she's way behind the other American ladies at this point. And I think it's just going to be a real struggle for her. I don't know what can be done about it. In 10th place here was Nina Petrina, Estonia. In her short program, big mistake from her. Triple flip, triple toe was planned. Does the triple flip. She steps to do the second jump and just does a single toe. It almost looked like choreography. And so I was wondering, so I really didn't think that it counted. I didn't think that it was an actual jump. So later in the program, she does a triple lutz and tacks on a double toe onto that, which I was like, okay, she didn't get a combo off on the triple flip, so she's added the combo onto the triple lutz. But Chris was like, what is she doing? Did she forget that she did a combo? So they did give her a single toe after the triple flip, which means that she can't go and do another combo. The double toe that she did on the end of the triple lutz doesn't count. She doesn't get to pick the better of the two combos. Once she's done the combo, then that's it. So that little jump was a single toe, and that was her combo. So obviously these were very costly mistakes from her, and so she had to come back a little bit because she also got a fairly sizable deduction on the triple lutz once she added the double toe onto it. So with deductions on both jumping passes, rough day for her score-wise. But it's a cool program, good choreography. I really like the red dress. In the free skate, she did our weekly Dune program. She had a fall in her step sequence of all things. Technical panel really had a field day with her. She got undercalls on 5 of her 7 triple jumps and her double axel. She was another one that lost 12 points. Her tech score went from 65.77 to 53.70. It's a good program, but both times that I've seen it, I just feel like it comes up a little bit short. And it's not that she's making a lot of mistakes in it. Again, maybe this is a program that by the time Europeans rolls around, it's really firing on all cylinders, but it's just missing something for me right now. And it's not just because we've all heard Dune a bunch of times. This was the only one this weekend. I don't think that was it. I feel like literally something in the program just isn't connecting. Maybe she's not quite connecting to it. In 11th place was Ekaterina Korakova of Poland. In her short program, she's still just doing a triple-double, so triple flip, double toe. She had a really bad lean in her double axel, landed forward. She ended up with an undercall on the double axel and on her triple loop. In the free skate, just, again, technical panel really had a field day with her. She started with her triple lutz Euler triple flip, which can be a really good combination for her. Or in this case, not so much. The triple flip didn't get close to getting all the way around. 6 of her 7 triples got calls all the way from Qs to a full downgrade. Even her double axels got undercalls. I don't think she had quite enough speed for at least one of those double axels. I think the second double axel was a last minute decision since she missed her combo on the Salchow. She's another one that lost 10 points from calls. I wonder if she's going to keep this program all season. Last season, she started with a Kill Bill short program, and then by Europeans, she had switched it to more of a classical feel. I wonder how the judges are responding to this CATS program. And I just still question the coaching change decisions that she has made. She definitely seemed like she was at her best with Brian. And this season feels like it's kind of a new low for her. And it's just sad to see because she's really such a fun skater when she's on, and she can even be a fun skater when she's not on, but she's not as fun to watch. In 12th place was Yelim Kim, again, at the bottom of the Grand Prix, although this one was a little bit better, I felt like, than Canada, especially in the free skate. In the short program, she two-footed her triple lutz, which sucks because that's usually like her best jump. And she landed really forward and couldn't get the second jump off. And then with a triple flip, she two-footed it, badly under-rotated it, so she wasn't able to tack a jump onto that to get a combo off. So she ended up with a full downgrade, plus a violation for no combo, and negative G on the jump. She got 1.08 points on that, which, rough, really rough. What I will applaud her for is she did not give up at all. She kept herself in that program. All of her spins got level 4. In the free skate, Chris says she thought long and hard about that triple Lutz. He says that a lot about the jumps, but it's true. I think we could all sort of see like the hesitation almost, but she did land the triple Lutz double toe opening combo. Then she did like a triple loop, and I was like, okay, this is going well. Then she double footed her triple flip. She ended up getting a full downgrade on that element. Did a triple Salchow, and then her second triple Salchow landed forward and couldn't get a second jump off. So she got the repetition violation on that. The double axel just went completely awry. She ended up with a downgraded single axel, which is 0 points. She is trying with the performance, and at Skate Canada, she got like 80 points in the free skate. So here she got 101, which was a 20-point improvement. And she seemed okay with it after, which I think is good. I think if she has a bad free skate like that and she beats herself up, it feels so much worse. Like she's not really in a good place. So it seems like maybe she's in a good place. And I don't know how the ranking competitions and things like that are going to go in Korea for her based upon what we've seen here. But I continue to just hope, fingers crossed, toes crossed, that she's able to get things back together. Pam Chinko Award this week, pretty easy. It goes to Yuna Aoki from Japan for getting on the podium here for the first time in her career, and especially the short program that was so incredibly strong and doing enough in the free skate to stay in a podium position. Let's take a look at the current Grand Prix final standing. So with her second win, Kaori is going to Grand Prix final yet again, where she is the reigning Grand Prix final champion, joining her teammate Wakaba Higuchi, who has also already clinched. After that, we have Amber Glenn with 15 points from her win in France. The next few skaters are not going to qualify for the Grand Prix final, but as far as the standings go, you have Yuna Aoki with 15 points, Alyssa Liu, Nina Pinzeroni, and Brady Tennell all with 14 points. They're not going to make Grand Prix final, so we're skipping over them and sort of getting to the next finishers who are all silver medalists, and that's Mona Chiba here, Rinka Watanabe, and Rina Masuke, in that order in terms of their scoring, because in the event of tiebreakers, then your total score, if you haven't won a Grand Prix, because the first tiebreaker would be if you've won a Grand Prix, then you're looking at total score. And so in that terms, right now, it's Mona Chiba, Rinka Watanabe, and Rina Masuke. They're all with 13 points in a pretty good position if they can equal the results that they got at their previous Grand Prix. After them, you get to the skaters who probably will need a little bit of a help. So Rion Sumiyoshi and Hana Yoshida, both are bronze medalists. They have 11 points. And then on the outside looking in, who would definitely need a lot of help or would need to win basically their next Grand Prix just to be in the conversation, Chaeyeon Kim of Korea and Kimi Rapon. So it's still definitely looking like 5 Japanese ladies going to be in Grand Prix final more than likely. We've got 2 already there, and assuming, which is a big assumption, that Amber is able to be the lone non-Japanese lady there, then it looks like we'll be looking for 3 other ladies between Mona Chiba, Rinka Watanabe, Rina Mitsuke, Rion Sumiyoshi, and Hana Yoshida. But ice is slippery. Anything can happen. Looking ahead to Finlandia Trophy this coming weekend, I think that this is probably one of the less stacked Grand Prix that we have this season. We've got Nina Petrokina of Estonia going back-to-back We've got 3 Finnish skaters, Jana Jyrkinen, Olivia Lisko, Nella Polkanen, Lorraine Shield from France, Laura Naki Gutman, also going back-to-back from Italy, 3 Japanese skaters, Rino Matsuke, Mai Miyahara, Hana Yoshida, Asun Yoon from Korea, who we haven't seen in the Grand Prix in a couple of seasons. She was at Skate America a couple of years ago. And then we've got Sarah Everhart and Lindsay Thorngren of the US. So to me, the ones who look most likely to be on the podium are Hana Yoshida, Rina Matsuke, and Sarah Everhart. Mai Miyahara really wasn't quite there a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if she can get on the podium or not. If she goes out and skates cleanly, she definitely can, but I believe she's still not 100% back from her injury. Nina Petrina has made the Grand Prix podium before at Skate America last season, but again, based on what I've seen from her so far this season, can't really say I have a lot of high expectations for her to do that either. And I picked Lindsay Thorngren to make the podium this past week, and I was very, very wrong. It definitely looks like Hana, Rena, Sarah Everhart as the podium contenders. Who do I think? How will they finish? I mean, good Lord. I mean, Hana and Rena, neither one of them are really super consistent. They can be brilliant. And of course, we saw Rena at Skate Canada. She was 11th and got all the way to second place. Who knows? But I'm going to say Hana Yoshida wins. I'm going to say Reno gets another silver, and I'm going to say Sarah gets third. All right. That completes my ladies coverage as well as my coverage for NHK Trophy. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. You can find me on the plethora of social out there at Ice Skate Podcast. Finland should be a friendlier time zone for those of us in North America than NHK was this past week. I was determined to stay up for dance in pairs this past week, which I did. And then with the free skates, are a little bit longer. I literally fell asleep right in the middle of Hagen Kugel's free skate and woke up sometime later and checked the results. I'm like, man, I didn't even make it to the end. So I'm definitely looking forward to having a reprieve from the Asian time zones this week before we get to Cup of China, and it's even crazier. All right, I hope everybody enjoyed NHK Trophy, and looking forward to interacting with you guys on social media this coming weekend. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Until then.